Ben, you're back up on number 10, Highway 20 Revitalization Corridor Enhancement Project, MOU.
All right, so SACOG, our regional MPO, basically they have a community design program where every year, not every year, every other year or so for the last few have been giving out $100,000 non-competitive grants for placemaking, they call it, basically to enhance the city's community image and economic viability. And so this last year, the city put in for the third of our grants for this corridor, another $100,000 request for funds for the Highway 20 corridor to continue that process to keeping building on improving that corridor from State Route 99 to the Feather River Bridge. And so with that, recently we were awarded so there's a little bit of history here with the last two grants. One was to basically did an outreach with the public, where they walked the corridor. They got a lot of business input, and they kind of came up with general concepts and a document on what's the ideal way to improve that corridor to make it more pedestrian friendly and business oriented. And then with that, we took it the next step. With the second grant, we used a portion of the money to fund the median improvement project from Stafford to Clark. So in January of this year, SACOG at their meeting approved the $100,000, and with that, there's always some requirements. And so with that, we need to enter into an MOU, memorandum of understanding, and then a 10% local match. So basically, these funds are really just to improve that corridor, and so they could be used for any sort of project from 99 to 20 if it meets those kind of general goals. Typically it's associated with complete streets where it's landscape strips, improving medians, signage, monuments, any sort of thing that's really that place making that they refer to in the original grant. And so with this, in November of this last year, the City Council adopted the Highway 20 Gateway and Streetscape Master Plan concepts. And so we put together basically, we had a consultant that kind of put down a master plan for the area. So as development occurs, that everybody's kind of on the same theme. So McDonald's, when they redo it, we got the same type of trees. When Dutch Brothers comes in, we could call out the same type of concrete, trees, landscaping. So as it slowly occurs, and when the city gets money, we keep plugging those improvements in, but they have a similar theme. So with this, staff, the original idea, we kicked a few ideas out. $100,000 doesn't go very far. And CIP, currently in the CIP account for the State Route 20 improvement enhancements, there's about $125,000 in there. And so what we're thinking, you have $100,000 from SACOG, you got about a $200,000 project. We could probably do the median to the east of the median we just did, so from Orange Street to Clark. And so that's not set in stone. It definitely could be any project that enhances that area. But right now, that's kind of the tentative plan. And we'd be happy to discuss alternatives at council's direction. So other ideas I've mentioned that have come up in the past is there's kind of a remainder spot there at the southeast corner of Plumas and Highway 20. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, right north of the optometry place there, where the old highway is. There's kind of a little dead spot in there. We've talked about maybe ideas for landscaping it or turning it into like an outdoor plaza area, or wayfinding signage along the corridor to give kind of an identity to the city when people roll through. So grant requirements, it's basically, we're gonna get $100,000, you need to spend $10,000 with it. Right now, that median project, we would start design. The logistics is we would start design on it, then come back to City Council with a detailed estimate and ask for approval to go out to bid on that in the next few months or 6 months, whenever we get that packaged up and come together. But with that, we're definitely open for other input. And so tonight, I'm asking for approval to enter into the agreement. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Sure, if I can start with the public, if anybody from the public would like to comment on that? All right,
Through the mayor,
yes, sir.
are we allowed to save this money for a year and get more, and that way we can get the project done? Because that piece between Stafford and Clark, wasn't it like 300,000? It was pretty close to that when we did that 2 years ago.
And when we got a little creative where the city managed it as the general contractor on that, and it came in right around 187,000, I think, when I looked it up before the meeting. And this one, I think, will be a little less because we didn't have to, we won't have to bore between the two medians for the water.
Okay.
So we're looking around, inflation and staff costs and different things. You're probably around 200,000.
So we're planning on contracting it out ourselves then again, and that's our plan? Or are we gonna go to bid and see what they do?
Well, I'm going to make sure I come in with a number under 200,000 is what I'm
course.
gonna, looking for, and looking at those options that's most efficient for us. And so we haven't got into the design yet at this point, but we would definitely want to look at a project that came under bid and maximize the dollars.
Okay, and then just that final question, if for some reason, it's 300,000, just say, are we allowed to save that money and get another and then continue on? Like, we don't have to match 10,000 the following year? Are we allowed to do that if we don't spend it this year? Can we keep it till next year?
So we have 2 years to spend it, I believe, with the agreement. There's 2 years to spend it, and there's no commitment that that we do anything with this agreement. The agreement is that you spend 100,000, you give us towards that. So if it's even just for the design, say we get into the design for 20 grand, and then we get a $300,000 project, we want to change directions, we could use the other 80,000 towards something else.
Okay, thank you, Ben.
Through the mayor. Ben, just a question. In the very beginning, the first 100,000 that came in, the 110 total, it said that was done for the whole design of the Highway 20 corridor. But then you talk about we have to go to design as far as this for the next. I'm hearing design that we've already spent 110,000 on, and then I hear design that we've got to go design this next block before we can do it. Can you elaborate on? Is it engineering versus design? Because all I heard was design, and I'm a little confused on that part.
Yeah, let me try to clarify that a little bit. And so the first 100,000 was a framework, guidelines, and so there was no design. There was nothing I could send out to a contractor to bid. It was really the outreach effort with the community, taking that in. With the needs of the community and the city and the business owners, and package that into ideas that talks about parkway strips here and there, and try to get buildings to come up closer to the right of way, and pedestrian lighting and furniture. Just a real guidelines, I guess, of what to implement. And we took that a step farther with this Highway 20 master plan, where we kind of really nailed down in that corridor which sections we're going to eliminate driveways and we would work to combine driveways, and then where different elements would fit, where because you're in this existing built out area where you could maybe get the parkway strips in versus where you couldn't. And so that's the 1,000-foot level. And so this $100,000, it's where I propose to take it and actually design this with a bid package to put it out to bid so we could build it.
Okay, I'm following where you're going, but I guess and I'm not trying to go back over spilt milk, but we spent 110,000 for a concept.
You spent 10,000, but we did spend 110,000 total for a concept.
That's what I'm
Correct.
talking. My personal opinion is I've gotten positive feedback for the section we've already done, and it makes perfect sense to continue moving back towards that 10th Street bridge and continuing this. But the last thing I want to see is those signs that you just had up there at the intersection before we build out anything else, because that should be the end product if we get there. We need to develop the infrastructure in between first and make it really attractive before we just go sticking signs up. So I would be in favor of the median, like you're suggesting.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, I attended the the meeting. It was before I was elected, on the streetscape, and it was really pretty looking stuff. But I guess my concern is there's always nice to have things, and then there's the need to have things, especially in a budget situation that I believe the city's experiencing, is going to continue to experience. So my concern at this point is that we charge staff with making sure that the things that we're going to be working on with these monies are the things that we need to do to that streetscape, and not some of the nice things. You attended the meeting I did yesterday with the builders and developers. You know, there are a lot of concerns about some of the amenities that we require, versus, you know, what's really needed to make, you know, traffic flow and make our city look presentable. I'm not suggesting we just continue with the concrete and et cetera, but, you know, street trees and you know, decorative this or decorative that, or like my colleague just mentioned, you know, huge signs. Those are all nice things to have. I want to make sure, at least from one person's point of view, is that we really pay attention to what we really need to do on that corridor and use those monies as wisely as we can. And I trust that you guys will. I'm just vocalizing my concerns or my opinions regarding what I saw prior to my election.
I appreciate the feedback. Definitely with the $100,000, it doesn't go very far in today's dollars, and so we really want to maximize that to enhance the image and not be extra, be that balance.
Through the mayor, I did not attend that meeting that was referenced yesterday, so I'm not sure if this particular project that you're presenting today, Ben, would have any effect on the potential future builders for them to pay for some of this?
So for this project, no.
Okay,
But
that's
but the idea is that the city has established this master plan
Okay.
for this area, and that the intent is that as development occurs, we try to get them to match some of that theme.
okay.
But this is not set in stone. It has basically staff review of it, and where's that balance where we could find, if they have to do a landscape strip anywhere, if we have that ability, is to try to get it to match and try to make the improvements where we can. But the staff definitely recognizes that if you know, when what was the name of the polio chicken came in, we wouldn't tell them they need to build this $1 million sign out front type of deal. But that really is where it affects the developer. Is we have a master plan, we're trying to put that theme in, and we are trying to incorporate some of those elements in when they come, but finding that balance.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear because I didn't hear you say that there would be a potential.
With this project, this is for grant and using existing program funds.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Through the mayor. But I would, as a business person that runs a business on Colusa Highway, I would tell you there are restrictions or there are desires that come through the master plan. And you mentioned Dutch Brothers and you mentioned McDonald's. I'm quite certain that at some point there was dialogue within the city about what you wanted them to do. And that does have a direct impact to the developer, correct?
Correct. That's what I was trying to relay. Hopefully I relayed that.
I just wanted to clarify
Oh,
that.
thank you. Thank you. So on that part, thank you for clarifying that. On that, I guess that the master plan keeps coming up frequently. So I think at a future time, I would suggest that we have some sort of workshop or conversation about the master plan, because there's oftentimes, not that I'm asking to change it, just to know what is happening, because it's referenced a lot, and at times it could be a lack of information for me to be able to give you a good sense of understanding and how we're doing all these things. But yeah, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Through the mayor, quick follow-up, Ben. Understanding all of this money that's coming through for the Highway 20 corridor revitalization, it can only be used on Highway 20. only be used for certain things. And I've already asked the questions before as far as why don't we do this or do that? And it gets into the whole Caltrans versus us and maintenance for them versus maintenance for us. Is really, in your opinion, what you brought forward to us, because this is our second year from last year coming through. We need to move forward so we don't have to give money back. Is this really the most viable option, and what our city needs that can be done with that money versus anything else on that corridor? Because I think that's really what we're all driving to, is we don't want the fluff. We want to make sure we're spending $200,000 in the best possible project.
Yeah, I would say yes. And so that corridor is tough because it's state right of way, so juggling state requirements and then private property, where it's hard just to pick one block and say, hey, I'm going to improve this guy's driveway or their area versus the other. So being in the median, it's high visibility, and it gets a lot of that bang for your buck.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, if I could just clarify something there. I agree with Ben from an aesthetic standpoint. This makes sense to move forward, but there are other projects that are proposed along the Highway 20 corridor. For instance, where Caltrans is requiring or requesting that they actually remove driveways. And one of the things that was identified in this master plan is the benefits of removing driveways along that corridor. So one of the things that could be done is utilize some of this money to do improvements within the public right-of-way that would still comply with that corridor, but then also address some of the issues associated with those developments. There has to be a balance there in terms of a gift of public funds, but there would be some opportunities to look at that as well.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Ms. Langley, question concerning the removal of driveways. We just approved the traffic study that we need to update and everything here. Would removing driveways help with that traffic flow study and getting us a better rating along Calusa Avenue to improve the flow? Because I assume that's why the recommendation is there's too much in and out and cross traffic and.
Yeah, that outer lane, you just have a lot of traffic slowing down to turn it into driveways, people pulling out from the driveways into traffic, which causes a slowdown. And so the desire is to reduce the number of driveways, to reduce the connection points. And will it have a significant impact on traffic flow? Maybe. Not enough probably to improve the level of service, but as we drive around the city, would definitely see benefit from it having a reduced number of driveways, especially driveways located in close proximity to intersections where there's safety issues.
Have we considered the removal of some of these driveways in relation to, just doing the median? Have we looked at the cost of removing some of those driveways?
Well, what I would say is we want to make sure we have willing landowners and developers to be able to go out and remove those driveways or consolidate driveways. But we do have a project that's before staff right now where, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but Caltrans has requested that they remove 2 driveways.
Correct. So Diana's talking about the Waffle Barn site, so the southeast corner of Olive and Highway 20. So there's I think there's 4 driveways along that parcel on the highway side, and then there's 2 on Olive Street side. And so Caltrans requested to close the 2, one on Olive and one on the highway closest to the intersection. And so where Diana is mentioned is with the willing customers. And so unfortunately, not too many people are willing to close their driveways. And so this usually occurs through the entitlement and planning process, is when they've asked for entitlement for a subdivision map. In this case, this is where Caltrans puts the request to come in. And so maybe that's an opportunity to partner with them to help.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, one final follow-up. It sounds like we've got some additional possibilities, but my gist of item 10 tonight was we need to execute the MOU to go ahead and get the money coming, and we can always have a follow-up discussion on whether we want to do the median or we want to do driveways.
Correct.
Okay.
That's if the property owner says yes.
Right, but it's 2 separate issues.
Yeah.
So Mr. Mayor, with that, I would make a motion if you'd entertain it, or do you want to continue discussion?
I would have just had one comment before we do
Okay.
that. Just to put it on the, you have one?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
For staff and the project, years ago, I'm gonna go back into time, when we put the Yuba City and the Ducks at the intersection of 20 and Stabler Lane. The city got nothing but grief when we did that. You know, what are we doing wasting money? You know, we said this is the new gateway coming into our community. It's a beautiful site. And we had a lot of flack and got a lot of backlash for doing it, but we did it. And years later, people come and they comment to the city how nice that is there. But you know, at the very beginning, people had very negative comments towards us, and now it's one of the better intersections when you're pulling into the community. It's one of the nicer intersections coming into our community, just off the Ducks being on the corner and the tree selection that we had picked throughout the years. I just wanted to mention that. So these plans that, you know, we paid for, and the architect gave us these ideas, you know, this wasn't our town. He did several communities, and these other communities already have this guideline, and he just showed this to the council, and which it's just a plan. I mean, it's not set in stone, but beautification brings people to our community. And like I said, the money can only be spent on certain things, and hopefully in the future we will beautify Highway 20, and it'll be a good thing for the community, and we'll have more people coming through. Instead of it looking the way it looks now, it'll be a beautiful place to come to and drive through. Still yours.
Very good. I just want to throw out there, Ben, and I think some of what we're talking about here, Vice Mayor, is balance. We want it nice, we want it welcoming, we want it professional, but we want to draw the line at opulent, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, that being said, and that's difficult when you're doing something, but of course, 100,000 of their money is nice too. But I'd like to just, for the record, suggest perhaps we consider, I think one of the more blighted sections of Highway 20 is between, on the north side of Highway 20, between Stafford and Clark, there at Harbor Freight. And you talk about a need for improvement for pedestrian access and landscaping and to match up the median there. 'Cause it's really a stark contrast. I guess it's a matter of philosophy. Do we do the median all the way down and then start on the shoulder, or what? But I know we're not deciding that now, but I just want to get that out there on the record. You know, maybe that can be an additional consideration once we get the money.
Great, yeah, we could definitely look into it. And also at play is Caltrans, with it being their right away.
Right.
They've also have some different projects that
Right.
they've been trying to push through with ADA compliance and different things where we've been trying to partner with them and maybe do the sidewalks, but we partner up and make some of those improvements to be a win-win.
Very good. Anybody else have anything? One more time from the public? All right, entertain a motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments for community design grant funding for the Highway 20 Revitalization Corridor Enhancement Project.
Second.
All right, a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Very good. Thank you, Ben.
You got me for one more.
I sure do.